All right. Okay. What's going on, family? It's been a while since we did a YouTube live. I wanted to just read from our holy book, the Holy Bible. It's a African American Jubilee edition, King James version of the Bible. What's cool about this Bible is it gets off of about 200 and I want to say like 87 pages that ties our history with evidence of historical proofs as well as with scriptural verses of our claim of being who we are. And then, of course, we have the regular Bible, you know, all 66 books in there that goes with the King James version of the Bible. And then we have a Strong's exhaustive concordance of the Bible. As it states, it's an exhaustive concordance. It's easy to read, an extra clear typeface, and it finds every occurrence of any word in the Bible. It discovers the words in Hebrew and Greek, underlining the King James Version in English using the Strong's numbering system, which then uses the updated Hebrew and Greek dictionaries to find the brief definitions of each word of the original languages. And it helps you quickly find your place with clear edge tab indexing, right? So this is a very important tool when it comes down to deciphering the Bible. Again, the Bible was transliterated about 4 or 5 times. The Septuagint, the Great Bible, the Bishop Bible, uh, the Geneva Bible, um, as well as the King James Version of the Bible, which is the last transliteration that took, right? Again, it was never transliterated for the purpose of helping out anyone, but mainly to um, cause doubt in the Bible for many people to come to try to separate and whitewash, to hide, right? To cause confusion. That's what the whole purpose was. Because when we look at, for instance, when we look at Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 2, right? Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 2, the Bible tells you clearly. It says, Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish out from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord Yahweh your God, which I command you. So no words were supposed to be added or taken out, right? And that's exactly what transliteration does. Transliteration is the romanization of words, meaning they take words and they put them into their alphabet, but what happens is it changes the names of certain people, which are proper nouns, and you as a writer, let me say it like this: as a writer, when a writer is making transliterations, it's always best to leave the original word for a person's name or thing because those are proper nouns. And what happens is when you transliterate, some names can lose their actual value of meaning, which can be considered disrespectful in a different culture. So that's why a lot of writers will write the proper name. But what they like to do, for they are the minions of Satan, and they like to cause confusion amongst the nations as well as amongst the children of Yahweh, they like to change the names of God and his Hebrews, and as well as the pigmentation. We always say, color is not the issue, but it's just part of the factual evidence of the truth, right? because you need to know what people this truth is depicting in order to fully embrace the truth, right? It's like opening up a vehicle manual and they have the troubleshooting pages ripped out and they tell you to figure it out. But you're like, well, I need the troubleshooting pages. Well, no, well, you got the installation. Okay, that's cool, but I need the troubleshooting pages. Well, just figure it out. That stuff don't matter. It does matter because how am I supposed to diagnose and troubleshoot if I don't have the key components that's going to tell me if this is doing this, then check this, and this, right? Same thing. So that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit. We're going to be reading a few scriptures and it's just studying. Welcome to studying with the Kazi. I always say, in many of my videos, I find my name very impactful because it's Achazyah. The first part you hear is Ak, right? I'm your brother. And Kaz is strength. So I'm your brother in strength. And I'm your brother bringing you strength in Yahweh. Yah, right? So that's what I'm all about. And that's what I like to try to establish for my brothers and sisters out there, rather who've been in the truth for a long time or coming into the truth or just being inquisitive about it, have questions about it. So with that being said, before we even get started, let's please stand up and face the east. I'm going to be offering up the prayers to Yahweh in our holy Hebrew tongue, the Tefillah, which is the Lord prayer in Hebrew. Praise Yahweh and praise Yahweh ben Yahweh. Let's get it. Just trying to get to what we're going to be reading from as well. Trying to do like 5 things at once, but we are almost there, family. Give me 1 second. So when we get done praying, we can get right into it. So just bam, bam. All right. Tefillah, Avenu Sabashamayim, Yikadar Shemeakar, Tavumakul Teakar, Yer Sebrizongar, Kibashamayim Kane Baaretz, Alekin Kanu, Tain Lanu Hayom, Uslak Lanu, Alkarteinu, Kimo Chuso King, Gamanatanu, Lakotain Lanu, Veal Tefienu, Ladeni Sayon, Kakar Seinu, Minhara, Kilaka, Hamamlaha, Begivada, Beteferet, Leolame, Olami, Sila. Praise Yahweh and praise Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Okay, family. So if you can, rather if you have the book or if you have it on your phone, turn to the book of James, which is actually the book of Jacob. When you look up that name James, it tells you it's Jacob. But in the book of James, right? It's going to be in the New Testament after the book of Hebrews. It says James chapter 1, verse 1. We're going to ignore that JC name because that is a Greek mythology name, and we are not Greek. Nor is the Messiah Greek. He comes from the Hebrews. He comes from the tribe of Yehuda, which is the fourth tribe. And Yehuda is Abri Israelites. They are Hebrew Israelites, not Greek, not Spanish, but black Hebrew Israelites reigning from North Africa. Praise Yahweh. So it says James, a servant of Yahweh, because a guy again, God, Lord are epithets. They're not names, but just titles. So James, a servant of Yahweh and of our Mashiach. Mashiach in Hebrew is Lord. Or I'm sorry, Adonai. Adonai is Lord, but Mashiach is the anointed one. So James, a servant of Yahweh and of our Adonai, Yahweh, Ben Yahweh, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. What the word I want to look at here is scattered, right? Scattered. We're going to be looking at scattered. So we're going to be going into our concordance here, as you already see me going, and I'm going to look up the word scatter. Right, this is how we use this concordance. It's very easy, very simple. All right, scattered. All right, so we're going to look for James. All right, right here. It tells us to go to the Greek reference 1290. All right, so already in the Greek reference 1290. And that is going to be diaspora in the Greek. Diaspora. And it says to also look at the reference 1289, but it means dispersion. Specifically and concretely, it is the converted Israelite residents will be in Gentile countries, which are scattered abroad. So, again, in the New Testament, we see that the Hebrews are still scattered abroad. Notice how it said Israelites, didn't say Jews. Israelites are scattered abroad in Gentile countries. The reference number for 1289 is diaspero, and it tells us to go to two more uh, different references. But before we do that, diaspora means to sow throughout, but in a figurative sense, it means to be distributed in foreign lands, scattered abroad. So when it means to sow throughout, that's the figurative, like how you sow seed, you throw it out, right? You don't, when you got grass seed, you don't put each individual seed in the ground one by one. You scatter it out, you sow it out. So we have been sold out into these Gentile nations. All right. Now, the first reference from 1289 tells us to go to 1223. 1223. So we're going to just leave our finger right here because 1223 is right here, which is dia, which is a primary preposition, which denotes the channel of an act. So it's through the wide application of being sold out locally, casually, as well as occasionally. And in compounds, it retains the same general import of after, always, and among, at, avoid, and because of that which was briefly discussed, from the occasion by reason and forsaking. Well, we were cast and scattered out because we forsook the law. We forsook the ordinances. We even forsook our Sabbaths, which are a generational decree forever. So therefore, Yahweh calls us to be scattered out into the Gentile nations. Praise Yahweh. And we're going to go ahead and continue pushing on. The next reference number is G4687. 4687. Okay, let's go take a look. 46, okay, right here. 4687. Spiro, right? Which is probably the strengthened from, it tells us to go to 4685, but before we do that, it's through the idea of extending or to scatter, to sow. Look at that. And it tells us to go to 4685, which is spo, which is a primary action to draw out. So we was drawn out of our land because of forsaking. We forsook the law. We forsook our God. We forsook the prophets that were sent to us as warnings, giving us the very um, condemnations that was going to befall us and giving us a chance to turn from our wicked ways, but which we did not. And the condemnation fell, the judgment fell, and we were scattered abroad, as it was stated in James chapter 1, verse 1. Why? Well, James chapter 1, verse 22 through 27. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word, and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself, and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. But whosoever looks into the perfect law of liberty and continues therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deeds. If any man among you seem to be religious, or bridle not his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this man faith is in vain. Again, we do not have religion. This was put in here. We do not have a religion. Yahweh never gave us a religion. You can't find in the book of Exodus where Yahweh gave Israel a religion. Again, that right there is heathen. We don't have a religion at all. What we have is laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments. But again, when you have others tampering with your book, again, that's why 2 Timothy 2:15 tells us to study to be able to divide the word of truth. Why? Because if you have to divide, or if you have to put in parts, and you have to put those parts under different segments and under different topic and bulletin points to even begin a strong investigation to see what sticks and what doesn't, then you have to understand that falsehood was also implemented. And you can also understand that a criminal likes to try to hide their their evidence. So they scatter, they try to mix up so that you will lose their trail, right? Same thing. So in our book, some of the scriptures have been replaced in different books that it wasn't initially written that way. Or they have added some words and different ideologies in our book to make you lose track of what is really the essence of the word. And you have to be a really good detective in order to even begin the journey of deciphering that, right? Because when you look up study, right, it tells you of you have to investigate. You have to look at the minute details. You have to scrutinize. You have to use analytical comparisons, right? You have to literally dive in deep with your magnifying glass like a private eye, right? So that's what you have to do, and it's a part of the journey. Now, before we go into the book of Hebrews really quick, I want to go into the book of Revelations, right? Revelations chapter 11, verse 8. We have to talk about some things here. Revelations chapter 11, verse 8. Uh, all right. So, Revelations chapter 11, verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom in Egypt, where also our Lord Yahweh ben Yahweh was crucified. So, already right here, we are being told that the place where the Messiah would be crucified shares similarities between Egypt and Sodom. Well, Sodom was known for its catamite ways. Well, Achazyah, what's a catamite? A catamite is an effeminate person. Okay, Achazyah. Well, what's effeminate mean? Well, effeminacy means a man who is very feminine, or a man who loves another man as if it's a woman. So it's talking about that homosexuality, right? That's what Sodom was known for. That's why it was destroyed for, because of that wickedness, okay? And then Egypt is known as the house of bondage. So America shares these two similarities in one. It has the Sodom similarities as well as Egypt. Well, How does Egypt and America have similarities? Well, the pyramids and Sphinx, right? As well as a city called Memphis. You have Memphis, Cairo in Egypt. And you have Memphis, Tennessee in America. Both Memphises are off the rivers, the Nile and the Mississippi. And both Memphises alone have pyramids in them right off the waters. So those are those similarities as well as with the other ones of Sodom. So we can see here that the Messiah would actually be crucified here in America in the last days. That's why it's in the book of Revelations. I know a lot of you Christians probably going to spam my page talking about, oh, this is your narrative and yah, yah, yah. But I can just say, you don't really know the Bible. Your pastor, pork chop, as well as false ideologies and dogmas have told you that they nailed a man called Jesus on the cross 2,000 years ago. But when you hear 2,000 years ago, you don't. You didn't. You wasn't here. You don't know that, as well as it's proof that the letter J is only 500 years old, 502 years old to be matter of fact, because it was created by Gian Gorgio Cesano, who is known as the father of the letter J in 1524. So there is no Jesus, no John, no James, no Jacob, no Jehovah, none of that. All of those names are pseudo, meaning false, right? Again, and then in Hebrew, which the Bible was originally written in Hebrew, there is no J this very second, right? So there is no Jews, there is no Judah, there's none of that. All of that is pseudo. And that's why the Bible tells us in Revelation chapter 2, verse 9, and 3, verse 9, I know thy works and tribulations and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemies of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Right? Again, and that's in verse chapter 3, verse 9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Well, if they are lying, then who is this thee? Who is this thee? Well, we're going to go ahead and find out today together. And remember, I'm just taking you into the studying of showing ourselves approved unto Yahweh, being that workman with you here today, that we don't need to be ashamed because we are rightly dividing the word of truth. So, Kazia, Kazia, why haven't you looked up Jews in the concordance right here in front of us to prove your point? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, and look at us. I got you right here because I don't want you to think that I'm being small-minded. 2453 in the Greek. 2453 in the Greek. All right. 2453. Let's find out who are these fakes and what are they faking. 2453. And it says, in the sense of as a country, Judeans belonging to Jehuda, Jews, Jewish, or Judea. So, in the sense of, and it tells us to go to 2455 as well as 2448. 2448, they have it as iota, which is a Hebrew word of 3063, Judah or Yehuda, which is a place in Palestine. So these people are pretending to be Judah in Palestine. That's what that is saying. As well as in 2455, it says the Hebrew origins of H3063, Judah, is the name of 10 Israelites, also of the posterity of them in this region, Judah. Again, so these people are pretending to be Judah or Yehuda, or they're just pretending to be the chosen people, right? Because again, we know that Judah was chosen to be the ruler by Yahweh. Oh, Achazyah, it sounds like you racist. Oh, Achazyah, no, no, I just believe in the book. That's it. I just believe that the Bible knows what it wants to uh put out. I just believe that the word is true. You know, where's my marker? Right here. I just believe that the Bible is true. And I just want to show you all this truth. First Chronicles chapter 5, verse 1 and 2. Please turn with me because now we're going to find out who is this thee. And who are these other people pretending to be this thee? Well, we need to find out the characteristics of this thee. And that's what we're going to do. The descendants of Reuben. That's the name of the chapter for this book in this version of the King James Version, right? Chapter 5, verse 1 through 2. Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, for he was the firstborn, but for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given unto the sons of Joseph. Again, there is no J. When you look up J in the Hebrew, it will tell you it's Joseph. Okay? The sons of Israel. And the genealogy is not to be reckoned after the birthright. For Yehuda prevailed above his brethren, and of him came the chief ruler. But the birthright was Joseph's. So not only did Yehuda proven to be the prevailer of getting this rulership, but we also have the very privilege of having the chief ruler, Shiloh, which is an epithet of the Messiah, which is another epithet of Yahweh himself being born amongst us. Wow. Well, let's prove that. Let's prove that. So he's going to be born, right? So Genesis chapter 49, right? Let's go over there really quick. Because again, right now we are on a mission, family. And I pray that you are enjoying this. I can't see if anyone is attending, but I'm not here for seeking attendance. I'm here because I want to study with you. So rather, if I'm the only one in here, I just love studying. And I think that this is important. And this is what I wanted to do out of the kindness of my heart today. So, Genesis chapter 49, we're going to read verse 9 through hmm 9 through 10 or 8, you know what, 8 through 10. Yehuda, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Yehuda is a lion's whelp from the prey. My son, thou art gone up, and he stooped down, and he couched as a lion, and as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be. So this gathering of the people must mean that the people were scattered. In order for them to be in need of gathering, they have to be separated. Okay. So we're coming to something here. Okay, it's starting to come full circle to James chapter 1, verse 1 about the Israelites being scattered amongst the Gentile nations, as the definitions even said in diaspora, in diaspora, and dia as well as spira, all about being sown in Gentile nations. Wow, which is scattered. Let's just read that again. Genesis chapter 49, verse 8 through 10. Yehuda, thou art whom thy brothers shall praise. You drop the P in that, shall raise. You put the P back on, it shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies, and thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Yehuda is a lion's whelp from the prey. My son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He couched as a lion, as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up? The sceptre shall not depart from Yehuda, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Praise Yahweh. Now, who? Shiloh. I told you Shiloh is an epithet. But here in this class, we're going to look up Shiloh because I want you to see that it is just a title. All right? Shiloh. All right. So we're going to go to the book of Hebrews 7886. 7886. 7886. Shiloh. Tranquil. Shiloh. An epithet of the Messiah. And then it tells us to go to 7951. 7951. Salah. A primitive root. To be tranquil, secure, or successful. To be happy and prosper. To be in safety. So within the Messiah, we will have safety. But that comes when you work. You have to be a doer of the word and not a hearer only. Okay? So Shiloh is going to come. And this is the chief ruler. Because as we read, not a lawgiver nor the sceptre shall not depart from Judah until Shiloh is come. When the Messiah is come. How would he get here? I wonder. I wonder how would the Messiah get here? Will he come to us as from outside of our current conditions, fully realized, and never went through any struggle? Should he be perfect, coming out from another place, coming to us, or will he be born amongst us? How would this Messiah get here? Well, Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6 states, "For unto us a child is born. Hmm. Unto us a son is given. Hmm. And the government shall be upon his shoulders. In his name," see, I knew he would have to have a name, right? "His name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father. And since he's born, he will be the Prince of Peace." Okay. Well, what's the Father's name? Well, when you look up what's God's original name, it will tell you Yahweh, the Tetragrammaton, the Yud He Wav He, Yahweh. So his name shall be Yahweh, the Everlasting Father. And seeing how he's coming to us born as a son, a baby that will grow to be a man, he also takes on the son. So, what is son in Hebrew? Let's find out. It could be David. It can be John. Maybe it's Ben. Let's find out. Let's find out right now. Let's put this in the bud. Let's see. Let's put it up to the T and find out what is son in Hebrew. I mean, gosh. Okay, son in Hebrew, it tells us to go to 11:21 in the Hebrew. I mean, I already knew that, but let's just go with it, right? I post a lot of this stuff. And I'm not trying to be condescending. In a way, I am a little bit, but not too much. Okay. Ben, Beth Noon Sophie. Ben means a son. Unto us a child is born, a son is given. Wow. Wow. Ben, Yahweh, son of Yahweh. Seeing how the son is the Messiah, and the Messiah is actually the visible representation of God Himself, which we will get to that in the book of Hebrews, chapter 1, verse 3. What adventure we are having right now, family. I mean, gosh, we are on an adventure, aren't we? Hebrews chapter 1, verse 3. Who being the brightness of his glory and the expressed image of his person, and upholding all things by the word of his power, when he had by himself purged our sins, sat down on the right hand of the majesty on high. Verse 4. Being made so much better than the angels, as he hath by inheritance obtained a more excellent name than they. What name can be more excellent than all the angels? And he is coming. And he says his name is going to be the everlasting Father. It got to be Yahweh, because Yahweh is the everlasting Father. So his name will be the everlasting Father's name, Yahweh, not Yeshua. No, because there's about 30 Yeshuas in the Bible. That's a pretty common name. Because he's going to receive a more excellent name than they. Man, man, this is crazy. This is crazy right now. A more excellent name. Wow. I mean, gosh, like who would have thought, right? Wow. Who would have thought? Name. Okay. We can look at 8034 in the Hebrew. All right, 8034. 8034. Shem. Perhaps through the idea of a definite and conspicuous position, an appellation of a mark or memorial of an individual by honor, authority, character, base, fame, infamous, named, renowned, and report. 7760. But before we go there, it says to also go to 8064. Samayim. Samayim is a dual of an unused singular definition, which is samay, from the unused root meaning to be lofty as the sky, a loft dual, perhaps alluding to the visible arch in which the clouds move, as well as the higher ether where the celestial bodies revolve. air, astrologer, heaven, and heavens. Wow, name. Well, who is in the celestial? Yahweh. Arch. Arch is believed in some Mosaic traditions as the balancing between the spiritual and the terrestrial. Who brings both the spiritual and the terrestrial into existence? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yahweh. Wow. Okay. 7760. 7760. It is Sum, which is Sin Wav Mem Sophie, or Sem Yud Mem Sophie. It is a primitive root, which is to put in any wise, appoint, bring, call a name, to care, cast in, change, charge, commit, consider, convey, determine, disguised, disposed, to get, uphold, lay down, order, ordain, mark, purpose, make out, regard, and preserve. Wow. Hmm. I hope y'all got all of that because y'all can look that up right there. So he's going to receive a more excellent name. Let's look at name in the Greek. Maybe it means something different. You just never know, right? I mean, that's just the truth. Name. Let's find name in the book of Hebrews. Okay. Name right here. 3686 in the Greek. 3686. 3686. Let's see here. 3686. Onoma in the Greek. Onoma is from a presumed derivative of the base of 1097, but it's also telling us to compare 3685, which is going to be right here. But it is a name, literal or figurative, an authority character, called, name, or surname. 3685. It is Ani, the anonymy. See the anonymy, which is a prolonged form of an action verb. Ononymy is to slur, for which another prolonged form is used as an alternate in some tenses, unless it indeed be identical with the base of 3686 through the idea of notoriety, of gratifying the middle, deriving pleasure or advantages from, and having joy. And again, 3686 is unless it indeed be identical with the base. What? Name. So he says, I come in my father's name. So he comes in the authority character name of Yahweh, which is the surname, Yahweh. So Yahweh, son, Yahweh. That's what Yahweh, ben Yahweh means. Now, that's John 5:43. I've come in my father's name, as well, which is backed by the scripture of Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, that he will be named after the mighty God. And to give you another clue of who that is, he is also the everlasting Father who will be born. So it tells us, right? It tells us, Achazyah, how can you prove that the Son and God are the same? I'm glad you asked that question. I got something for you right here. Colossians chapter 1, verse 15 through 17. Who is the image of the invisible Yahweh, who is the firstborn of every creature. So the Son of God is the firstborn of every creature. Why? Because Yahweh stands outside of existence. He's everywhere. He's omnipresent. He's omnipotent, meaning he exists somewhere and everywhere at the same time. So either he stands forth outside of existence. He is what sets the celestial in order to support the terrestrial. But you see, the terrestrial is physical, fleshly. We're terrestrial beings, beings of matter. So Yahweh created himself in a terrestrial state as well. That's why he is known as the firstborn of every creature. It's right there. And that's why it's called the Lord of Hosts. When you see that in the Bible, host with an S at the end. So that means Yahweh is known to frequently make himself have a terrestrial body, the normal way of coming through the birth canal. That's the appropriate way to coming into existence. You have to be born into existence. So he is the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in the earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones, which is an angel, or dominions, which is another angel, or principalities or powers, which are all angels. And we got that coming up in the Adam class that we're working on right now. Uh, right? All things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. Wow. So the Son of God, who is the very image of the invisible God, which we found out in the book of Hebrews, chapter 1, verse 3. Also, he is the expressed image, which means he is the express. Express means something you can behold, you can see. He is the physical representation of the spiritual God, right? Now, Yahweh is no spirit because he can choose to make himself man at any time through the process of being born or even putting his divine mind and whoever he chooses to put his mind in to get whatever goal he wants to get done, because again Yahweh exists everywhere, outside of existence, in existence at the same time. So at any given time you can be walking right past Yahweh and don't even know it. But when he makes himself known through his prophets, through his son, then that's in that scale of creation. But we see here that the Son, Shiloh, the Messiah, the Adonai, the Lord, right, is the firstborn of every creature because he is the visible image of the invisible Father, Yahweh. And this is why he comes in his Father's name. Why? Because it's his name. Only thing that makes the Son is Yahweh chose to be born in the physical, which then makes him a son in a terrestrial flesh, but with the mental faculties of the Father still. This is what this is talking about. Now, I posed the question. I said, did the Messiah come to us from outside of our conditions, or was he born in our conditions? Well, we were told that we was given a son. So that means he was raised up in our conditions under the same curses in which we are currently under. And to even begin to observe this, right, we have to look at Isaiah 42, right, verse 1 and 2, as well as verse 18 through 22, as well as at chapter 45 and verse 13. We're going to be looking at a few scriptures here, but let's start right here, okay? Isaiah 42, verse 1 you know what? We're going to do 1 through 4, okay? So I'm just going to highlight it because we just trying to just get down to the nitty gritty of it all, right? All right. Behold, my servant whom I uphold, my elect, in whom my soul delighteth. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth the judgment to the Gentiles. He shall not cry, nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. A bruised reed shall he not break. Read that again. A bruised reed shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. He shall not fail nor be discouraged till he have set judgment in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his laws. Wow. You know, let's read verse 6 as well, and 7. I, the Lord Yahweh, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thy hand, and will keep thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles, to open the blind eyes, and to bring out the prisoners from the prisons, and them that sit in darkness out of the prison house. I am the Lord Yahweh, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praises to graven images. Verse 18 through 22. Hear ye deaf, and look ye blind, that ye may see. Who was blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I sent? Who was blind as he that is perfect, and blind as the Lord's servant, seeing many things, but thou observest not? The Lord Yahweh is well pleased for his righteousness' sake, and he will magnify the law and make it honorable. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in the prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith, Restore. Wow. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 13. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 13. Give me 1 second. I'd seen a scripture that stood out to me. All right. Isaiah 45, 13. I have raised him up in righteousness, and I will direct all his ways, and he shall build my city, and he shall let go my captives, not for price nor reward, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts. Now, this same servant was foretold in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verse 15 through 18. Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verse 15 through 18. The Lord thy God Yahweh will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken, according to all that thou desirest of the Lord thy God Yahweh in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, Let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my God Yahweh, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I die not. And the Lord Yahweh said unto me, They have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. This same prophet was foretold in Exodus chapter 23, verse 20. I'm sorry, verse 24. In verse 24, I'm going to get 23 though, down too, as well. And then verse 24 right here. All right, 24. All right. I'm going to get 21. All right. So we're going to read, we're going to read 20 through 23 in Exodus. So Exodus 23, verse 20 through 23. Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way, and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgression, for my name is in him. Wow. But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice, and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thy enemies, and an adversary unto thy adversaries. For my angel shall go before thee, and bring thee into the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. So when we follow this angel, this prophet, this Mashiach, this Adonai, when we follow this one that comes with the name Yahweh in him, as it was foretold in Isaiah 9:6, that this one, this son, this child born unto us, given to us as a gift, shall carry the name of the everlasting Father, who is the expressed image, the firstborn of every creature, the visible image of the invisible God, who comes after 400 years of us being in the Amorites land, or in the Western Hemisphere. Amorites, when you look that up, it tells you Westerners. You look up Westerners, it'll tell you especially the Western United States, which again shares the similarities of Sodom and Egypt, where our Lord was crucified. It says that if we were to listen unto his word, which is the very word of Yahweh himself, then Yahweh will be an enemy towards our enemies. That's a condition. That's a requirement. And if we want to be saved and spared, forgiven and raised up to be a sovereign nation again, then we must take the appropriate steps. It's very important, family. So before we you know what? We can go a little bit longer. I gotta work tomorrow, but we can go a little bit longer. We can go a little bit longer. Because now we have to prove again on camera. Well, who is this one that is speaking of, man? Like we gotta know, right? Who is this the people? Well, again, the real people are called Yehuda or Hebrew Israelites from the tribe of Yehuda. And it tells us that when Yehuda was scattered abroad and put in captivity in Lamentations chapter 1, verse 3, Yehuda is going into captivity because of affliction, because of great servitude. Let me ask you a question. Is Israel a homeborn slave? That's Jeremiah 2:14. Are we a homeborn slave? No. We're just a really hard-headed people. Yeah, almost like we're a homeborn slave. How many times we've been put in slavery because of our stubbornness, right? Lamentations chapter 4, verse 8. Their visage is blacker than a coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones. It is withered, and it is become like a stick. Their visage is blacker than a coal. Oh, visage. They're too Ata to Shakor. They're visage right here. 8389. 8389. To Tav Aleph Resh. Their outline figure or appearance, their form, their outline figure form are blacker than the coal. I mean, it's right there. Their outline figure resembles blacker than coalness. Literally, 8389 to in the Hebrew, 8389, they resemble blackness like coal. Their figure is black like coal. Wow. I mean, it's right there. Check this out. Their goodly figure is blacker than a coal. Mm. Trying to tell you. So now we know that Judah is blacker than a coal. That shows forth African ancestry, doesn't it? Mm. So if that shows forth African ancestry, because remember in Genesis chapter 2, verse 10 through 14, it talks about our our homeland and our boundaries. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden. From thence it was parted and became into four heads. The name of the first is Pison, which covers the whole land of Havalia, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good, and beryllium and the onyx stone. The second river is Gihon, which is the name that compasses the whole land of Ethiopia. hmm And the name of the river of Hiddekel, which goes east of Assyria, and the Euphrates. Yep. So all of that is North Africa. And then we're blacker than the coal. I know what they're gonna say though. They're gonna say, well, it says right here in Lamentations, right? 4:7, 4:7. Let me show you what this means. Let me show you what it means. They're gonna say, but it says right here, how Nazarites were purer than snow, and they were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in the body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire. But when you look up pure, it's talking about character. That's why when you look at and then whiter than snow, whiter than milk, both of these things are bright light, bright illuminants, substances, which goes into again spiritual enlightenment, spiritual illumination, intellectual prowess. And to prove this, it says in the book of Isaiah, right? Oh, let me just find it really quick. I want to say it's 13. Right here. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 13. Therefore, my people are going into captivity because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished. So the honorable man they used to have a character that was whiter than snow, meaning they were very spiritual illuminated. They were very tied into the law. But we didn't get in captivity because we were so tied into the law. We was put into captivity because we walked away from the knowledge. That's why it says because they have no knowledge. So when we had knowledge, our minds were bright, full of bright ideas, holy thoughts, righteous thoughts, pure thoughts. But when our minds started to slip away from the knowledge, our Nazarites, our honorable men, became knowledge amnesia victims because we had no knowledge. And this caused our honorable man to become famished. And the multitude of the honorable man dried up with thirst. Therefore, hell hath enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure, and our glory and the multitude of the glory had descended into hell, and this hell was captivity, bondage, scattering into the Gentile nations. So, with that being said, I thank y'all for studying with me. I pray that this raised some questions for any new person. And for any veterans that's up in here, who already know this truth, thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Hope you have a wonderful night. Sleep well. Uh, and as always, it is our truth. This is not a religious book. This is not used for sacraments, for Christian mythology. This is a book of a history. This is our history book. Yeah, only thing they would write down in their history book is you was a slave. Okay, that part is in here. But who was I before I was a slave? You'll find that part in this book. Our truth, our history. And let me tell you, the ending is one definitely worth seeing. Remember, we have a contract, and it's pretty mean. to break that contract. So let's keep it. This is your ox signing out. Nicho Mishpaka. Praise Yahweh. Every knee shall bow. Absolutely. I thank y'all. I thank y'all so much for writing. You know, every knee shall bow. Absolutely. Thank you so much. God bless y'all. I hope y'all have a wonderful night. Praise Yahweh and praise Yahweh, Ben Yahweh.